Good evening, everybody. We are back. It's Pardon Will Live. I'm your host, David Lilly, and I got Spooky Font. Spooky Font, week after Halloween. Didn't have it last week because I didn't even notice that they were like, hey, here's a Spooky Font for you to get into the season. And so blew right past it. Since we're going into Thanksgiving, I figured we'd just extend Spooky Font into November because everybody's already decorating for Christmas, my wife included. And it's obnoxious. Absolutely obnoxious. Halloween always comes and goes way too quick, and it's unfortunate. Well, we got spooky news. This one, no, I'm joking. This is the font is as far as spooky as we're gonna go. But I appreciate you guys hanging out with old Pardon Will here on Pardon Will Live Sundays, 8:30 on time every time. We're gonna have a good time tonight, guys. It's the Sunday before an election. It's a big Sunday. It's a big Sunday because the election's coming around this week, and I'm sure we'll know the results. I'll probably still be here next week. I'll be like, hey, we still don't know what's happening, but we're going to pretend like we're going to know what's going to happen this week, like any normal country with elections and all that. So we're going to pretend. And tonight we're going to talk about Peanut, our favorite squirrel. Side note, didn't know Peanut existed till a few days ago. And I'm still justifiably mad about it. And I'll tell you why. We're also going to talk about Ron Paul joining the Team Americas. That was awesome. And then we're gonna give predictions. And I got some funny clips after that too. I had to check in on our boy Tim Walls. I was like, bro, it's coming down, it's countdown time. I bet he tightened up his act. Nope, jazz hands galore. And so we're gonna watch that and all kinds of good stuff. But if you like this podcast, of course, like and subscribe, all that other stuff. You jabronis, you guys know the routine. And definitely like it this time because I got the spooky font. Paid extra for that. Um, I didn't pay extra for that. But you can. Well, let me switch over to this. Oh, even my name's spooky. I mean, right there. Look at that. Where am I at? Name is spooky. It's awesome. I love this. I'm keeping this. Keeping this for the rest of the year. Maybe into January too. That's pretty rad. Go to. Oh, I'm not gonna do. I mean, you can go to pardonwill.com. All kinds of cool stuff on there. But this time I'm gonna go to. I want to tell you guys a little bit about a project I've been working on for the past. Actually, it's for the past few years, but past few months. It's a little project called Flintlock and Fog. Now, what Flintlock and Fog is, it's a tabletop RPG. Like all your favorites, your D&Ds, your Pathfinders, except for this one takes place in Victorian era. And I could read that whole thing. There's a video of me kind of explaining what it is, a sneak peek into it. Basically, it is what exactly what I just said is. If you're a big fan of D&D, and you're like, hey, this is cool and all, but I'm tired of killing dragons, and you want to like what, hunt down Frankenstein? Maybe Dracula in London? That sounds cool. What about just hanging out with Sherlock? Or I don't know, hunting, chilling in the laboratory of Dr. Jekyll, aka also Mr. Hyde. It's all that kind of stuff. It's all your favorite fiction literary and also your realistic literary. It's got a storyline putting together where you're hunting down old Jackie the Ripper. So anyway, started this thing about 7 years ago and shelved it and pulled it off right after I got done making that first book and going right into it. So the cool thing about this, I know this is a long spiel. The cool thing about this is it's in the beta test mode right now. So I'm game testing out, making sure all the math works, ironing out all that cool stuff. See, it says currently in beta testing. And I have a few of those videos up on YouTube. The next one's coming out this week with my boy James. We went through a few different things on that. So you can actually watch us beta test it. He gives his opinion at the end and we kind of talk about it, where it's going. It's a long road ahead. I'm excited for it. But if you want to check it out, and you can go to flintlockandfog.com, sign up for the newsletter, and keep up to date. Of course, I'm going to be spilling this thing out on the live. But where I'm trying to get to is right now it still needs a lot of testing. But as soon as it gets fairly solid, I'm going to start live stream beta testing. And if you're like, dude, this sounds awesome, and you want to be a part, you can go to flintlockandfog.com, sign for the newsletter. And then you can also contact me, be like, this is a cool idea. I want to know about this. I'll tell you all about it. And if you want to be a part of beta testing, you'd be right on the ground floor, because soon I'll be coming out with physical copies of the beta manual. And we're going to send that out to have everybody play test it. Either way, whatever. That was the longest ad read ever for a game that you probably have no interest in. But it's a good time. Be looking for that video out later. All right. So before we get started into any kind of crazy controversy, we're going to talk about old Trumpy boy bringing up Liz Cheney being in front of a firing squad. And I know what you're thinking. Is like, wow, yeah. What did Trump say? Every week, man. Every week, something else with this guy. No, here's the story behind this, and this is how I know I was in for it with the fake news. Listen to old Tucky Carlson's podcast with Trump on, and they're talking, and he's talking about Dick Cheney and Liz Cheney coming out for Kamala, and he brings up about how Liz Cheney's a war hawk. Of course, and I agree. So is her dad. They love going to war. They love killing people. And he makes a comment in this podcast while I'm listening to it at work. Makes sense. He's like, yeah, why don't we just send her over there? I'm sure she'd appreciate. I'm sure she wouldn't be so much about going to war all the time if she was on the front lines. And then he makes a statement about her being in front of 9 rifles trained on her face. I was like, oh, it's totally true statement. So that totally makes sense. That would actually, if we just start sending politicians overseas to fight all the wars they sign us up for, we probably wouldn't go to so many wars. It makes sense to me. Blew right past it. Lo and behold, a few hours later, check Twitter. And the Twitter lost their mind. They're like, oh my God, it's an execution. And so I want to break this down for you. I'm going to show you this thing. Let me switch over to it. Check this out. We're going to go full screen. We're going to go full screen so you can see this. All right, so this is the thread. This should make sense. So this is what the media, after Trump did that on the podcast.
Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see.
All right, so this is pretty much what the mainstream news used as a clip, so you can hear it for yourself. This is what Trump says. Listen.
Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. When the guns are trained on her face.
Yeah, that's it. 10 seconds. MSNBC went bananas. They went friggin' bananas. And I was like, wow, that's not the whole context. I wonder if someone's going to post the context. And lo and behold, this Twitter account did just that right underneath. But they also did point out all the different people. Look at this. Trump. This is our boy Keith Olbermann. He's definitely not on. He's definitely super stable. Not mentally unwell at all. It says Trump threatens to kill Liz Cheney. Of course, that Aaron Rupar is talking about the same thing. It was all over the place. Oh, let me make sure I click. It's all over the place. Here's all the stories. CNN, Trump says war hawk Liz Cheney should be fired upon. An escalation of violent rhetoric. Down here, Politico. Trump on Liz Cheney. Let's put her in with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels. Yeah, actually, that does make sense. He's basically saying give her a rifle, but whatever. That one's probably the closest one. Let's see what NBC says. Trump says Liz Cheney wouldn't be such a war hawk if she had guns pointed at her. I'm guessing they went with the firing squad thing too, but that's true. So basically, what they're all saying is Trump threatens to kill Liz Cheney. Somehow Keith Olbermann got that. By pointing rifles. The full text, I don't know if you guys want to hear it. We're going to check this out. This is the full
I really want to thank you. Thing. He said, now I'm so glad that I actually endorsed you. It's amazing, but that you would do this. And I didn't speak to him about it. But then, go a couple of years forward or go now. And I don't blame him for sticking with his daughter. But his daughter is a very dumb individual, very dumb.
I friggin' love that.
She's a radical war hawk. Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. When the guns are trained on her face. They're all war hawks when they're sitting in Washington in a nice building.
See, I mean, that's basically it. He's just pointing out she's a war hawk. She wouldn't be such a war hawk if she had to go to war herself. But, of course, corporate media can't let a good clip go to waste. So they took it and they freaking ran with it, just like they always would. Just like, I mean, to me, I didn't pick up on it when it happened, but yeah, they just went full steam ahead with that clip. Check out, I mean, when I say full steam, you're probably like, well, yeah, I saw the news articles. I'm sure old Joey Scarborough made a mention of it. I'm sure that was about it. They just use it for a talking point for a day. Nothing crazy, right? Corporate media didn't get crazy. You're wrong. They absolutely went crazy with it. Check this out.
And Bram Resnick, the political anchor and reporter from our NBC affiliate in Phoenix, KPNX, joins us. Talk about this breaking news regarding Donald Trump's comments that he made about Liz Cheney in Arizona last night. The Attorney General is responding.
That's right. I just spoke to Attorney General Chris Mays about 2 hours ago for the taping of my Sunday show. She told me she just gotten off the phone with her criminal division chief, and she was investigating whether what Donald Trump said about Liz Cheney constituted a death threat under Arizona law.
Tucker Carlson's show. Just now he's like, we got to contact the AG. We got to find out if that was a legit death threat. Hey, side note, aren't you guys glad I don't put makeup on? Like, I know I look pale and pasty, but it's Halloween themed. So regardless, it's fitting for the time in the spooky font. But I mean, that's a lot of makeup, bro. A lot of makeup. Either way, they took it so seriously. They're like, Arizona. He was in Arizona. He said, we need to contact the AG. I think he's threatening Liz Cheney. Dude, they're just going after it. And the funny thing about this is this is not, I hate to say this, guys, this isn't going to end. Even if Trump does not win, I'm getting ahead of myself. We're going to do predictions, but I don't think we're going to end. This is going to end. I think it's just going to continue on. It's never going to stop because partly, I don't think Trump's ever going to, even if he loses, it's not like he's never going to be seen again. And they're going to have cameras on him for the rest of his life, no matter what it is, either cameras or guns. They're going to put something on him at the golf course, be photographers or people hanging out in the bushes with ARs. That's just what it's normally going to be. Let's finish this. I can't believe they were like, well, we need they used calling to kill Liz Cheney. We need every higher up needs to know about this. We should waste every tax dollar in Arizona. All you Arizonans, you just paid for the most ridiculous. An idiot listening to a podcast could have told this jabroni. No, dude, did you listen to the podcast? That would have been the first question. Did you listen to it? So now they got to. So actually, that's kind of funny. The AG and all the higher ups in Arizona on the state capitol, every office in the state capitol is losing minds. Fax machines are blowing paper out. All the while, Tucker Carlson's playing on every speaker in every office. That's actually pretty genius. See, 40-70 chess. Trump just by one 10-second clip, Trump got the entire state of Arizona, the state capitol, listen to Tucker. Maybe they got something good out of it because that was actually a funny podcast. I enjoyed that podcast, and Trump's a funny guy. Let's hear what else he's got.
Law. I'll tell you, under Arizona law, it is illegal to make threats or intimidate someone. Can be charged as a class 1 misdemeanor, class 6 felony. Chris Mays told me they're looking into it. I asked her whether this was just political speech, free speech. She said we're checking to see if it crossed that line. But she also put it in the larger perspective. If you're here right now, you begin to understand how this place is ready for a high security event on Tuesday.
I probably should have stopped it a second ago. You said class 1 misdemeanor, class 1 felony. Guys, right now, money on the table, Arizona is definitely going to charge Trump with a misdemeanor, if not the felony. Probably going to go for the felony for that 10-second clip. And you're like, David, no way. Like, we all thought it was outrageous for them to contact. It's outrageous, number one, that they're even talking about that Tucker Carlson podcast on news. And then they up the ante and we're like, we need to call the AG. And you're going to tell me they're not going to up the ante and charge Trump because he was funny on a podcast. And also, let's pull back a little bit. He said the quiet part out loud that they don't want anybody to know because they don't want anybody to think about that. If you got all of America quickly to think, hey, how come our politicians don't send their kids overseas? Instantly, we would be not for going to war with anybody. But you don't want to do that because all these people, the higher ups, the elites, people in government, they definitely need you poor person, to send your kids to die because that makes them money. And you know what they do with that money? They do insider trading, and they make a ton more, and then they just pass it on to their kids without it being taxed. But your capital gains are going to get taxed unless Trump gets in. So just side note. Anyway, he just said the second part. Let's continue on because he's talking about it getting kind of crazy Tuesday, and that ties in with the whole episode.
An election. Our sheriff's office is talking about a no tolerance policy for protests. Chris Mays is activating all her agents. Every law enforcement agency in the state is involved with protecting the vote, protecting voters. So that's Chris Mays brought that into the conversation, that for Donald Trump to make these kinds of remarks at this time, such a really fraught and tense moment here in Maricopa County is just bad.
And Bram.
All right. So you heard him. And it's hard for me to really not like zoom in on that, because at first I was like, I just want the clip about him talking to the AG. That's funny. But then as I kept listening to it, I was like, oh man. Because instantly he just laid out the playbook. If there's any protest in Arizona, and we all know Arizona's tip top crystal clean when it comes to elections. Nothing weird happening over there with Kerry Lake or anything like that. Nothing. Maricopa County has never had a history of having issues. Basically what he says, kind of just said it was going to be. Did he say it was going to be illegal to protest? Hold on. He might have said. Hold on, we're
And Bram Resnick, the political anchor and reporter from our NBC.
Is ready for a high security event on Tuesday, an election. Our sheriff's office is talking about a no tolerance policy for protests.
Okay. What does that mean? What is a no tolerance policy for protest? Isn't protesting like your constitutional right? There's a no tolerance. That seems kind of tyrannical, but that's just, that's, if I was going to say something's fascist, that seems like a fascist concept. If you have a problem with your vote, you're not allowed to protest. There's no tolerance for it. And so this is what made my ears perk up about the predictions of what's coming up. Not that I'm a conspiracy theorist. My tinfoil hats, you can see over there. I don't have it on right now. So we're gonna be very nuanced and analyze this, what he just said. Let's listen to one more time. Not that part. Let's continue on, listen, and tell me what you think is about to go down.
Chris Mays is activating all her agents. Every law enforcement agency in the state is involved with protecting the vote, protecting voters. So that's Chris Mays brought that into the conversation.
Can we pause? How is a law enforcement agency supposed to protect the vote? What does that mean? Now, I understand they want to protect voters. They don't want anything crazy happening on Tuesday. But how are they going to protect the vote? Is that like them just making sure the vote doesn't go in the wrong direction? Because that's kind of what that sounded like. But regardless, really getting back to the point, they're saying it's high stakes. They're expecting protests, and they're expecting people to get out of hand. They're expecting something crazy to go down. And I'm sure he's not saying both sides. I'm sure he's leaning into one side, these crazy people. But it seems like a second playbook that we've already seen before. Because basically what they're just linked together was violent protests, or peaceful protests is how they like to call them. Fiery but mostly peaceful protests on Tuesday that they can link right back to old Trumpsters talking about Liz Cheney with that violent rhetoric. That's why all New York Post was like, we got a clip. It's great. It's in Arizona. So if there's going to be protests in Arizona, if we can't get that felony, which we will if people get out of hand in Arizona, because as soon as someone lights a car on fire, doesn't matter what side it is, could be any side, it's going to be Trump's fault. And they got the proof. They got him on Tucker Carlson saying something that seems extremely violent. And he was in Arizona when he did it. So boom, bing, bang, boom, misdemeanor felony. Even if he's elected, we got him on another thing. 35 charges. Why not? That's kind of what it sounds like to me. And I could be a conspiracy theorist. It's just every time I listen to these people say the quiet part out loud, I'm like, oh, let me take a note of that. Now, the same thing I say, and I'll say this again at the end, same thing I'll say every time. Guys, J6 was, and this was, oh my God, this was clear as day, the day of honeypot. And what he's doing just then is he pulled out a pot with honey and he stirred it around. He's like, hey, all you Trump supporters, why don't y'all protest Tuesday? Definitely protest Tuesday, because we already got Trump saying the Cheney thing. If y'all protest, we got it in the bag. So it's the same thing. I always bring up that book that came out in February last year about white rural rage, where all these Trump supporters are angry, tearing things up because they shot at their boy, my boy, Trump. They took his ear, clipped his ear, shot at my boy, and then tried to do it again. And nobody got outrageous. They tried to lock him up. They took him to trial. There's tons of protests in New York, and they sure sure we're going after him. They're like, oh man, these people in New York with these Trump signs, it's New York. Of course they're gonna riot. Nope. Actually peaceful. Actually peaceful. Anyway, I don't think anything bad's gonna happen in Arizona. I'm perpetually white pilled. You guys know that. But this guy definitely thinks so, or at least he's setting it up to where he can link anything weird happening in Arizona protesters to Trump saying the chain thing. All right, I'm tired of looking at that plastic face. Guys, should I start wearing makeup? Is that what gets you on TV? Never gonna happen. Never gonna happen. Anyway, that was our controversy of the week. Brought that up. We've got a ton more stories to talk about. But this one hits a little closer to home. And I'm not gonna go through the whole article. I'm not gonna do the whole article. But most of you guys know it's even in the title. This squirrel named Peanut. This guy rescued this squirrel. And I don't know much about to be honest. I'm sure it was like Instagram, TikTok. I don't look at TikTok or Instagram. I'm not like flipping through reels. For having a live show online, I should be way more dialed in to things that happen on the internet. I'm not, guys. I'm totally not. But this one did blow up. This guy rescued a squirrel as a baby. Apparently a raccoon too, named Fred. Named it Peanut, raised it, had it for like 7 years. You guys know the story. Someone called the animal control or whatever. New York. It's in New York City. You're not supposed to have pet animals like that. But dude, let's be honest, dude. I'm sure there's tons of homeless people with pet squirrels. I definitely don't treat them like this guy's room. So I'm gonna show you a clip real quick. It's sentimental. This is this pet squirrel. We're gonna watch it because every time something terrible happens, everyone's like, say their name. They were justifiably brutalized and killed in front of us. It's an American icon. So we're gonna say its name, Peanut. Check out this video, and we're gonna watch it because it's important. It's important. These things are important, Dad Mabbit. Super important. And he's a construction worker. That's nice. Look at that. Just hangs out, eats waffles. Eats waffles, guys. Although that one, he kind of looked a little feral there. The squirrel definitely looked like it was going there. Apparently loves waffles. All right, there's one thing I'm going to pause after. I want to get to this, him holding the sign, because that's just going to come cute. We're getting to it. There it is. Look at that. Look at that. All right, so we all know there's probably peanut butter on the back of that sticky note. Doesn't matter. It looked like he was holding the sign. Somebody called on this guy, and New York was went in there to confiscate his animals. And one of the people in the middle of the investigation, the squirrel bit them. I wonder why the squirrel bit them. And so they're like, well, we need a test for rabies. The only way to do that for a squirrel is to put them down. Sorry. Spoiler alert. They killed the guy and the raccoon just for fun. I think his name was Fred. And normally these things probably get swept under the rug, but it's a few days before the election. And this one hit hard. And I wonder if it hit hard. I mean, it hit like me personally, but I'm an animal guy. Like my dogs are my kids. And I think about like if anybody tried to bust in to take my dogs, I'm not making it out. That's a clear sign for me that this is the end. And so anyway, 7 years they took him, they euthanized, and the guy lost his best friend. And I other than the fact that the government is not only is the government too powerful, they're also mismanaged. I think the thing, and people are like, well, how did this get fire? How did this really take hold? Like, how did this really, because we see like problems all over the world. We see the government stepping on people's rights all the time. We see people get gunned down police while they don't have anything. We see all this injustice for sure in the world. But this one caught on, and I don't know if it was the dogs and the cats thing, but this one caught on and it turned into a right-wing thing because it seemed like all the right-wingers were out for him. And I think the only reason it was a right-wing thing, because it makes sense. This guy had a pet squirrel, obviously trained it. It was well trained. It wasn't clean. There was no reason to go in there and take it. And I think common sense tells you that, all right, yeah, maybe he broke the law, except for the fact that he had permits for it. He did all the right things. And so they came and took it anyway, even though he apparently has all the paperwork. Apparently this lady who called the cops on him was spreading around online. I'm not going to go into that because I don't know if it was her for sure. But it's a terrible, sad story. Didn't even want to tell my wife about it. She loves animals too. But the memes came out, and it's nothing but, and people, I don't know who on the internet started to go to AI and type in Trump with a squirrel with a cowboy hat on and started just blasting out these pictures of Trump with squirrels and this MAGA squirrel and all this MAGA. The memes were flying. I don't know who participated in that. Your boy did, actually. Your boy instantly went to Grok and started typing in, shooting out memes left and right. And that's all a bunch of people were like, why aren't people cared about all the babies that are aborted? And what about all this people that injustice? And here's, I'm going to answer this one real quick for you. Anything too big, any atrocity too big seems too hard to wrap your mind around. Any atrocity that seems too person specific seems hard to wrap your mind around. The reason why people or gravitate towards a squirrel is because, number one, they're squirrels, they're cute. If this was, let's be honest, if this was a giant gorilla, no one would gravitate around. Wrong. Harambe 2.0, that's what we're calling it. But it's also it's a symbol of, it's an icon of friendship. Like, that's the problem. The problem is I didn't even know the squirrel and I was automatically pissed off at New York. But I'm always pissed off in New York. I live here. That's neither here nor there. But it's something different because if you're like, wow, look at this genocide over, I mean, that obviously is pulled at the heartstrings, but this one's different. It just feels different. And I think what feels different is because people, even if they're, when something bad happens and there's, camera footage and people are like, well, whose side is what and what they do? And was that a boiling hot water or was that a gun or what is it? You can't do that with the squirrel. You just can't, because the squirrel doesn't have guns. The squirrel doesn't have boiling hot water. The squirrel doesn't do anything wrong. And it would have maybe been different had this guy lived on the streets and was throwing the squirrel at people on the subway. Because if he'd done that, they definitely wouldn't have bothered him. But because he is an upstanding citizen, did all the right thing, got all the right paperwork, the government hates you when you do stuff like that. They prefer chaos. They don't prefer orderliness. So they took it and euthanized it. And I think the reason why that hits home is because everybody's seen squirrels. Everybody loves squirrels, unless they're in your attic eating your wires. But even then, people love squirrels. They're iconic, and you can't get any cuter. Well, you can get cuter, but you can't get any more wholesome than a squirrel. And the idea that they could just take something that you love, beloved, away from you, and just take it out. Oh, and this is the second. I mean, that part's painful. But the hard part about this was, this is what I think really hit people the hardest, is because it wasn't like the squirrel got pulled over for speeding or, suspicious activity. It got euthanized because somebody pushed a paper across a friggin' desk. They just pushed the paper across the desk. So it feels worse when atrocities like this, or tragedies and atrocities, a tragedy like this happens at the hand of a bureaucrat, not even as a cop or somebody in the military or somebody who actually has a hard job or does something for a living or creates something or at least protects something. These are just pencil pushers. And it almost feels like these people are so insignificant that they have to do things like euthanize squirrels to make them feel powerful. And I think that's what tipped everybody off. I think that's what really hit people hard, is because we've seen government overreach so often and it's always against people. But when it starts to come again, like, look, if government overreach comes against me, you're like, oh, well, it's David. He's a lovable character. We all love Pardon Will. We love watching his shows. But yeah, he's probably, he probably sped that one time. He's probably got, he's probably not that great of a person. Squirrel, you got nothing on squirrel. Got nothing on squirrel, or a raccoon, and especially when they're friends. And then I also think last pillar of why people lost their mind is because of Disney. I think what's that? Anthropomorphed. I think that's anthropomorphed animals into feeling like they're people. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. The furries definitely are not saying it's a bad thing. But I think that's why it hits home, because people have seen so many Disney movies and all they're thinking about is, what's a Disney movie with a squirrel other than Ice Age? I can't think of one. I'm sure there is one. I kept wanting to say Chippendales, Rescue Rangers. Isn't that what it's called? But those are chipmunks. But same thing. They could have came in and euthanized the chipmunk. Either way, that's the government for you. And it just sucks when you know that a guy's pet squirrel got euthanized by somebody who works at the DMV. Friggin' blows. Anyway, chat's open. Let's see what we got. We got Michael Giuliano coming in, says 0. Oh, this is actually, these chats are kind of hard to read when they're in spooky font. Spooky font. Let's go. Just making my life harder. Zero Diddy or Epstein raids, but they got that squirrel. And there was no mass shooting in Orlando either. Zero news. Yeah. You know what? We're not getting manifestos. We're not getting nothing out, but man, they did lock down that squirrel. Zach's coming in with I love my Rosie. Was that a squirrel's name was Peanut, was it not? Oh my god, am I getting the squirrel's name? I put it in the title. It better have been Peanut. I'm pretty sure it was Peanut. Zach, I don't know what you're doing. Pretty sure it was Peanut. And then we got Michael Julian coming back in. Pardonable squirrel memory merch is mandatory. All right, now is it bad if I sell merch off of a squirrel? No, it's coming. We're gonna get a squirrel. This thing hit home, guys. I hate to tell you. I hate to be a sap. You guys always see hard hitting news over here, commentary from your boy David, and then he gets all teary eyed when it brings up a squirrel being euthanized. But it hit home. It hit home. I haven't felt this bad about a celebrity like this. This is the one celebrity that really got me, and I didn't even know the celebrity. The last one was Robin Williams. That one hit hard. Sean Connery too. That one hit hard. Right? Sean Connery died, didn't he? I think he died. That one did hit pretty hard. We got Zach coming back in. Says my squirrel I named Rosie. Oh, Zach, don't tell. Good thing you live in New York. Don't tell the feds, because if the feds know, they like to do one thing: it's kill your family and kill your dogs and your squirrels. Government's great at killing all the things that you love, because that's what else they're going to do with their time. Put a border up? No, don't do that. Arrest people that are mugging people on the subway? No, that's fine. We'll let them go. But your squirrels are gone. They're out for them. They're eating the cats. They're eating the dogs. They're euthanizing the squirrels, guys. What an election. We are getting after it today. It's going to be one heck of a week ahead of us. And guys, I always try to stay white-pilled. Always try to steer on the optimistic side. And if anything, this might be Harambe 2.0. Hold on. Zach came back and said, don't worry, she's feral. Not worried. Hopefully Zach is armed, Rosie. And if I know Zach, he has. And so definitely that squirrel's probably got more ammunition than I do. And that makes a lot of sense. So I'm not worried. I'd be more worried for me than that squirrel. Either way. Like to stay white-pilled. It's going to be one heck of a week. So I'm going to try to do that. But if anything, this could be Harambe 2.0. A lot of people were saying that. I think it's going to shift. If Trump wins the election, I'm automatically putting it on paper right now. It was because of Peanut. I think this was the straw that broke the squirrel's back. Peanut might be it, man. I think people have just had enough with the government overreach and had enough of the smirk and smile and head nod to be like, yeah, we can do whatever we want. We can come lock your church up. We can shut down your business. We can lock you up because of a flu, and we can kill your squirrels. And that's just getting started. And so I think most people are. Here's the funny thing. I don't know if anybody came out and was like, that squirrel was voting for Trump. It's a Trump squirrel. Dude, this guy lives in New York City. He might even be like a Democrat. He might be a hardcore progressive. He's got squirrels and raccoons in his house. He could be he's not a hippie. He works construction. We saw that with the hard hat. So obviously, he works construction. Chances are he's not a Democrat. He's most likely a Republican. Squirrel's MAGA now. MAGA took the squirrel and made it their own. So it is what it is. I don't make the rules. Squirrel was voting for Trump. Took him out. Now the squirrel's dead. Probably voting for Biden, Kamala, because Democrats, for some reason, dead people like to vote for the Democrats. I don't know what that is. He probably got an absentee ballot for Peanut and Fred. Joint absentee ballots. Anyway, I'm beating this joke down to the ground, and I shouldn't. I should honor the squirrel's legacy. Never going to forget Peanut, especially right before this election. Dumb move, New York. You could have just kept quiet. Let the squirrel rock its TikTok, and then I wouldn't be making merch or talking about it on live. And maybe Trump would lose the election had they not. That's what I'm going with. When Trump wins, it's only because of the squirrel. If he loses, I'm going to blame it on the squirrel too. I don't know what else to do about it. Squirrel's fault. All right, guys, we're going to, white pill of the week. You guys know I'm voting for Trump. Well, voting. I voted for Trump. Boy Trumpers, super stoked, looking forward to it. But if I thought about voting for Kamala, I really wanted to give Like, say this week I was like, hypothetically, because I like to put myself in the other shoes, like to change shoes every once in a while. So sometimes I suit up the clown boots and I think about what it's like to be a liberal, Democrat, progressive even. And I think about all the things that what does a progressive want? And outside of what the only thing I can really get out of this is Trump is a dictator, and they like to Democrats just they don't like having babies. They like to make sure that that whole thing. I mean, enough to where they put a bus outside the front of their DNC to make sure you're not having any kids. They love to sacrifice consequences and stuff for their futures. I'm trying to dance around it. Child sacrifice. That's all I was going for. They like the child sacrifice. Anyway, I really thought about what it would be like to vote for Kamala this week. I really sat down and I was like, what would make me vote for Kamala? And I was like, well, let me watch these Trump tapes, all the Trumps. Let me see every clip of Trump that the News Morning Joe is telling me. And every time I listened to Tucker Carlson. I was like, I got to hear this Trump guy. He's a terrible person. Funny jokes all the time. And I was like, well, maybe what if, all right, well, Trump seems to be like, well, I bet that JD Vance guy's weird because Tim Walz kept telling me he was. And I listened to JD Vance on Rogan, super normal guy. And I was like, I don't know. I don't know what would compel people to vote for Kamala. And lo and behold, all the Avengers came out and told you to do so. And I was like, okay, now we're rolling. We got all the Avengers. I should have played that clip, but they're so insufferable right now. I'm not going to play it. It's literally all the Avengers going around making Avengers jokes. They all look emaciated, like they're all starving to death for a new movie role coming up. Maybe it's Avengers 2 and they're all zombies and they're dead. So they got to look, dude, they don't look good. They look rough. They look real rough. Either way, I saw that and it still didn't convince me. All the Avengers saying I should vote for Kamala didn't convince me. JD Vance didn't convince me. Trump didn't convince me. So I'm still on the Trump train. I was like, all right, one last hurrah. I want to know what it's like to be on the side of joy. The campaign of joy. Kamala is all about joy. What if I'm just miserable? And what I need to do is I need to see what joy looks like. And if I can take that joy on a video clip and capture it in a bottle, drink the bottle. Hopefully it doesn't taste like any kind of a horse thing, but drink the bottle and be joyful, then I would vote for Kamala. And I was like, all right, show me the most joyful Kamala clip. And I found it, guys. I found the most joyful campaign of all time. Now, I'm going to show you this clip, and I want you to tell me, especially if you haven't voted yet, does this make you want to vote for a Harris Walz ticket? You ready? Here it is. Guys, just in case joy wasn't just jazz hands, just you were like, hey, you know what? I know what joy looks like. Joy looks like jazz. Joy looks like jazz hands. And you were like, I think it stops there, though. You can't be more joyful than jazz hands. You were wrong. You know what's more joyful than jazz hands? Ready? Jazz sidekick. There it is. You freaking did the. Dude, I should have left my cursor right there. Should have leave my cursor right there. Bro. Jazz kicks. We got jazz hands and jazz kicks simultaneously. You're telling me that's not a theater kid? You're telling me that this isn't. You're telling me that guy doesn't dream about being on Broadway. He's still kicking. He's still kicking. Who waves like that? Hold on. What dude waves like this? What dude waves at that? Like what dude? That's a grandma wave. That's like the one where you're going off to school for the first time. And your mom on kindergarten, she's half crying. She's got teary eyes because it's your first day of school. And you're on the bus and you're kind of nervous. And she does that wave like, bye, Johnny. That's what that is. Guys, that is exactly what that is. Who waves like that? Is that what real joy is? Am I just a miserable sack? I don't know what joy is because I don't wave like this with the twiddle fingers. Oh my God, what is that? What is that? They can't put. Anyway, that's what joy looks like. I don't know if you know this. It's definitely not having fun. It's definitely not working at McDonald's. Definitely not putting on a trash bin vest and driving around in a dump truck. It's definitely not any of that. It's definitely not cracking jokes about Liz Cheney on Tucker Carlson. That's not fun. No one likes that. It's none of those things. You know what real joy is? Jazz kicks and jazz fingers and jazz twiddle fingers and waving like this. Guys, if I got to deal with 4 years of this, hey, that's just more content for the live stream. You know, beggars can't be choosers. I shouldn't complain. Either way, I win. Either way, we all win. If Trump gets in, I'm going to make fun of Trump, all the fun things he does, but chances are maybe I can move on to something, maybe I can move on to fun stuff like talking about Marvel and Star Wars and just quit the political game all around. But if Kamala wins, guys, I hate to tell you this, I don't think I'm going to stop. It's going to be Tim Walz jazz hands clips from here on to the next 4 years. Because the older it gets, the weirder it gets. Look at Joe Biden. He was biting babies this week. He went from sniffing to biting now. That's how old he's gotten. That's how you know the progression of age. You go from like patting a child on the head, sniffing him, and to biting. What's the next step? Oh my God, does he need to get out of office? What's the next step? I don't know. I don't know what the next step is, but I can tell you it probably happens in the basement of a pizza place. That's probably what the next step is. Chances are he's already been there. Just joking. Just joking. We don't really take conspiracy theories seriously. That was just a joke, guys. He's biting kids. Biden's biting kids. What's Tim Walz gonna do? The jazz hands, jazz kicks. He's gonna start doing flips. Nope. You know exactly what the next step for Tim Walz is. Musicals. It's gonna be the lady that came out, the Ministry of Truth. That lady came out with the Mary Poppins song about how she wants you to be locked up in your house and make sure you get jabbed. Tim Walz is coming out with a musical, and it's coming. And I'm partly, guys, if he becomes vice president, we can look forward to that. Because the only thing I'll say, if Tim Walz comes out with a musical, it might actually be worse than Joker 2. And I'm sure the endings will be exactly the same. There's a little Joker joke for you. Tim Walz is fun. We're having a good time. All right, let's go. Peanut. Oh my God. Most important thing this week. This is why I like to stay white pilled, guys. And the Tim Walz, I shouldn't. This is how you bring up. I feel bad for comedians because I just showed Tim Walz, right? And like I set up my entire live stream on purpose this way. And it's dirty. I should not have done this. I just gave you Jazz Hands, Jazz Kick by Tim Walz and Kamala. Right? And you're like, God, that's rough. At least give me something rough on the right side. Like, give me some kind of JD Vance slip up, some kind of fun. Nope, they've been scoring nothing but net for the whole week, and some of them weren't even them doing it. Guys, this is the one thing I wanted to talk about the most. Check this. Oh, I gotta do this right. So this week, Elon kept talking about government efficiency, and we all know Elon's going in there, going to clean house the way he did Twitter. Cut it all out, fire all the Twitter blue-haired liberals, just bring in all the super smart Asians and Indians, and they're gonna revamp it. They're gonna be launching spaceships. They're gonna make Twitter awesome, which it is. Twitter's awesome. Speaking of which, we're gonna go right to Twitter. Elon went in and made Twitter super efficient. A dying company. Well, I don't know about dying, but either way, he's spent way too much money for it, and he's making his money back. Good on him. He's a great business guy. He wants to slash the government. And when I say slash the government, I don't mean slash people in the government, just fire them. And then one of the most magical things happened this week. I'm going to share this with you. So Elon Musk said, this is his tweet, would be great to have Ron Paul as part of the Department of Government Efficiency. And we're all like, actually, someone slipped in Elon's ear. And then the most magical thing happened. Ron Paul retweeted it with a caption, I'd be happy to talk with you, Elon. Now, I know all my libertarian friends are super stoked about Chase. Chase is off, like he's going ham with the libertarian stuff. Oh, I should have full screen this, my bad. So you guys can see it. You need to see this. You need to see this whole thing. Look at that. That actually happened. Matter of fact, you need to see this meme down because this one's just funny. Ron Paul with the young libertarians and then right-wing extremists. That's just good times. Guys, I want to say this is the cherry. I want to say this is the cherry on top of what a beautiful cake the Trump team has put together. I don't know what this isn't even the cherry on top. This is the I don't even have word. I'm speechless. I'm speechless. And with this back to back with the friggin' squirrel dying, like how am I not supposed to have, crying? How am I not supposed to cry? You're crying. I'm not crying. You're crying. Oh my God, what a week. Anyway, I don't know if you know this about Ron Paul. Might be our greatest politician. And when I say that, you guys, I'm being serious. Greatest politician we've had in a long time. Long time. God was right about everything. Go back any year. Just pick a year. Pick a freaking year. 2008 and a half. Pick a mid-year. What was Ron Paul saying? Oh, he was correct. Yeah, absolutely. Ron Paul is correct. Love Ron Paul. Guy definitely is smart about government working well. And to have Elon show up, be like, hey, we probably should get this guy. That's what everyone's problem with Trump is. Everyone's problem with Trump is like, well, I don't like, he's going to do the same thing he did last time. And it's going to be the same thing. He's going to hire John Bolton. It's going to be war and all that. Or is it? You can have two options. The Trump's the same, or apparently Trump built the ultimate fighting team. And they were like, who else could we add to this amazing mix? I don't know. You just pick. I want to equate Ron Paul to a Marvel character, but I can't. You know who Ron Paul is in the whole Marvel team? Ron Paul is Stan Lee. That's who it is. It's camoing Stan Lee. It's the guy who made all this happen. Every time Trump was like, I'm going to no tax on tips. I was like, well, I know who he stole that from. We're not going to tax anybody. Well, I know who he stole that from. Guys, if Trump wins this, we're looking at a fantastically good time. Anyway, I just wanted to share that with you. Ron Paul is in the game. Ron Paul entered the chat. And my favorite is all my libertarians friends out there going hard in for Chase. Chase came out this week, by the way. I don't know if you know his policy platform. He came out and says that if prisons, God, I should have played this clip because you're not going to believe you will believe when I say it. If people want to transition in prison, government should pay for it. And when pressed on the issue, he's like, yeah, no, I think if the doctor says this will help the person, they get medical care in prison, then yeah, you shouldn't doctors shouldn't deny prisoners the ability to transition. Anyway, that's a good time over there. Most all my libertarian friends are going MAGA, which I'm not mad about. There's a scripture. I know most of y'all. I mean, to be honest, Trump's a hard sell. Don't get me wrong. And I know when he went to the RNC, I came out for Trump already, like a schlub, like I'm simping for old Trumpy boys. And I came out because I just liked the way he played that. Thought that was a smart hand. And also saw how the libertarians acted at the Libertarian Convention. And it made me kind of want to be like, I don't know if that's a group I want to really be a part of. They're all super smart, but when you get them in a bunch group together, it starts to look like the weird part of Comic-Con. Still great people, smartest people I know. Either way, when Trump went to the LNC, I was all in, super stoked about it. Especially when we started coming out with like Free and Ross and stuff like that. And I was like, if we get a libertarian in the cabinet, this is going to be great. Libertarians never came close. Not like this. And then a lot of them were held back. They're like, no, this Trump's an idiot guy. And I get it. Like, Trump's a hard sell. But back to the scripture. There's a scripture where Jesus is talking about field workers. Getting biblical with you. It's actually talking about salvation. And he uses this analogy as there's a farmer who has a farm and he hires hands in the morning and he tells them what he's going to pay them, minimum wage or whatever. The farmer's going to pay the workers to work all day. And halfway through the day, the field's not getting near done. So he goes back to the town, hires more workers and tells them he's going to pay them the same amount he's going to pay the guys that started working at noon. They come to the evening, still not done, goes back to the town, hires more workers just for an hour or two. And he's going to pay those workers the same amount as he's going to pay the people who started working in the morning. Now, I know what you're thinking. Like, that seems kind of unfair to the workers in the morning. Nope. They agreed. Free market capitalism. Jesus is talking about it right here. They agreed to the price in the morning. And the people at noon agreed to the price at noon. And the people at the very end, of course, they agreed to the price. They only have to work an hour for a day's worth of wages. And the whole point of the story is not whether or not the people in the morning are mad, because they are mad. They're like, how come we're not getting paid the same? But the whole point is, no matter what time you jump, God, this is almost blasphemous. No matter what time you hop aboard the Trump train, you're still a part of the Trump train. Wow, that's rough. I feel weird about that. I should have done that. Take the Jesus parable and bring Trump into it. Lord help me. Either way, the point's the same. All my libertarian friends jumping on the Trump train now. No hard feelings. Let's go. All aboard. Choo choo. Choo choo on the Trump train. Let's do it. Let's go. Ron Paul's in, guys. Ron Paul is in. Ron Paul is in. To be honest, let's all pour one out for Chase. If you were the libertarian candidate, say you were anybody, say you were somebody who was, would have done well, like a Dave Smith or Clint Russell, or even the guy I was banking for was Josh Smith. I like that guy. The guy's pretty cool. Any of them, could you imagine you were running for president on a libertarian platform? Could you imagine a week before the election, Ron Paul comes out for on the Trump team? Like, bro, what do you do after that? What do you do? What do? You just concede? I would. If I was that's what I would. Libertarian candidate. I'm libertarian. I'm running for president. It's me. I'm the candidate. And a week out, Ron Paul comes out and is like, I'd like to join Elon on the Trump team and take care of this government thing. Yeah, I would be like, oh, I'm voting Trump too. Like, what do you do? Poor Chase, dude. I feel bad if he wasn't so insufferable. I kind of do feel bad because he didn't ask for that. I mean, he kind of asked for it. Did he ask for it? He kind of asked for it. Yeah, Chase asked for it. He asked for it, and the same day he was like, yeah, we should definitely pay for prisoners getting transitioned. Anyway, moving on. That was a fun segment. Guys, I like to say white pilled. It's going to be a solid week. My predictions this week, that's where we're getting to. My predictions. I think Trump's got it. I don't think we're going to know. I don't think we're going to know the day of. I think it'll probably be all the way into the weekend, to be honest. And if the election's called that night, there's going to be litigation. It's about to get messy. No way. That's my prediction. It's about to get messy. No way. Unless it was like an entire red wave. Every state's coming out red except for like 3, but it's not. We already can kind of tell. And plus the polling, I know the polling's been wonky this whole time, but it's really neck and neck. And even if the polling was fake, which I don't think all of the polling's fake, I just think it's unreliable. I don't think it's fake polling. It's just unreliable. And I think some of them, if you take an aggregate polling of all of them, then it's probably a little bit more accurate. But I think it's unreliable. Because I definitely don't think they understand how culture works and how culture can shift, especially when New York euthanizes a pet squirrel that's everybody's fan's favorite. And even people who didn't know the squirrel existed find out that day. And you're like, oh my God. And then everyone labels it a MAGA squirrel. It's kind of hard for a poll to keep up with that. But the polls are saying they're neck and neck by like 1 percentage point. And so it's going to be a tight race. There is no way, if this is tight, if it's a tight race, which it's looking like it will be, there's no way it's going to not be messy. We just had that Arizona clip we talked about in the beginning. I will say this. Keep your eye out for honeypots. Don't do anything dumb. Because as James Lindsay always says, your action is their reaction. So I've been talking about this for the past year now. I keep bringing up things where it seems like they're trying to bait right-wingers to do something dumb by coming out with weird books and saying they're doing things that they're not actually doing. And then taking Trump, I mean, outside of trying to pop shots off at him, making him look awful and just taking things out of context constantly, even somebody as an independent and somewhat centrist as myself, who my problem is I hate the media and the corporate media because they lie so much. Even if they were to come out with truth for the last week, now what do? You can't put that genie back in the bottle. All the stuff that all the regime, the machine, all the things they did this year, hiding Biden, trying to tell you that he was cogent, and then kicking him out and then bringing in Kamala. The whole thing's wonky. This thing was messy before the election. This whole year's been messy. I do not see how this would be a clean cut, done and done Tuesday. And even if the regime just declares it's done and done on Tuesday, I don't think America is going to take that well. That's just where it is. So my one bit of advice is don't lose your cool and don't get overly happy. That's the other thing. Stay right there in the center. Stay right there in the middle. If Trump wins, don't go lighting fireworks off in the middle of the street and blowing your hand off. Don't do that. And you can rub it in everyone else's faces because they would have done the same. But after you get done rubbing it, it's time to get to work. Time to support Elon and Ron Paul. cutting the government. Time for a great America. But don't get wild if he doesn't win, because I hate to tell you this: if he doesn't win this go around, it's only going to get worse. But you know what happens when it gets worse? Probably going to get worse some more. And then if it doesn't get, here's the thing: if it gets worse, guys, here's my predictions. If Kamala, this is not really a prediction. This is me speculating. If Kamala wins, it's not going to get good. And then all your hardcore people in the left camp are going to tell you it is getting good. Like they're going to be like, no, gas prices are down while their car's on fire and they're being mugged at the same time. They will tell you it's good and it's great and it always is great because they've always done that. So that's going to be, but some of those people on the left that are midway, they're the people who watched the Avengers clip come out with all their Avengers that told you to vote for Harris. The people who vote for Harris because of that, your Swifties. Well, I mean, the Swifties aren't, they're probably in the hardcore left camp. But either way, the moderate people who've just been fooled by the mainstream, if Kamala wins, it's going to get worse. And I don't know how they're going to hold on. So, you know, that meme where it's like the right and the left keeps moving farther left and it opens up the gap and makes the right wider. That's just going to continue to go. It's going to continue to move. She's not going to be a moderate. This isn't going to get better. And so it's just going to continue to move in those directions. So all the people that are somewhat confused and someone's like, but the news told me Trump was terrible. All those people might wake up in the next 4 years when their car's on fire and they're being mugged. That might happen. So there's always that. There's always that. So there's always hope at the end of the tunnel. Always stay white-pilled. Stay white-pilled, guys. There's no point in being pessimistic. To be honest, look, you're not running for president. I mean, unless Trump's watching this right now or Kamala's watching Pardon My Live right now, you're not running for president. And God gave you a great head on your shoulders. And you're asking, Dave, well, how do you know God gave me a great head on my shoulders? Well, I can tell you because you're watching Pardon My Live on Sunday night, 8:30s. That's how I know. You're smart. You're a smart cookie. Sharpest crayon in the box. Brightest tool in the shed. You guys are amazing. So I'm not worried about you. And I don't think I should be. And I don't think you should be worried about you either. What I'll be worried about is all the people who don't know how bad it's going to get. That's the people to worry about. And to be honest, you're like, well, what if it doesn't get bad? What if Kamala's in and it doesn't get bad? Well, you're wrong. And if it doesn't, then what? I underestimated the damage? No, you can never do that. You never underestimate it. Especially when the government's coming out stealing your squirrels and euthanizing them. Can never underestimate it. We got a comment coming in. I don't even know. It's spooky font. I can't read your name. Sorry. There's going to be litigation and conspiracy theories after the election, no matter what happens. Absolutely. Coming in from Twitch. Spooky font's rough, guys. I gotta get sorry about not knowing your name. Can't read anything. I don't even know. It says like and subscribe, you jabronis. Could be saying anything right now. Could be saying something terrible at the bottom. No one would know because spooky font for days. I might have to definitely leave it. You're absolutely right. Litigation and conspiracy theories for days. My only worry is all they've ever wanted was for a honeypot. And the clip in the ear, the roof being too sloped, that was a great setup for a cool honeypot. Them trying to litigating him in New York with the protests and making sure he's got 34 counts of felonies, great honeypots. And all you crazy right-wingers out there, but keeping your cool. And I'm very proud of you. I'm proud of you. Now it's time to keep your cool longer. And you might be asking yourself, well, David doesn't sound very confident. And it's not that I'm not. I think Trump's going to win. But even if he doesn't win, or even if he does win, you think they're going to stop? I guess maybe that's my point. It's a long road ahead. You think Morning Joe is going to come out all of a sudden telling you the truth? You think Don Lemon's going to stop doing man on the street interviews? No, it's all going to keep going. The only thing we can hope for is a better outcome for America. But the only way to make sure that happens is to make sure you're a part of that better outcome. So even if Trump's in, Kamala's in, you keep fighting the good fight and you keep being you. And when I say being you, be the best part to you, not that garbage part. And that's how you stay white-pilled. America might not even be here in 4 years. You know who will be? Ming. Hopefully doing Pardon My Live if they don't shut the power off with an EMP bomb or whatever. Either way, I'm going to still be doing Ming. You're going to still be doing you. You still have family and friends around. Life will continue and it'll go on. And if all is well and Trump gets in and we still have power on, I'm going to be doing Pardon My Lives and I'm going to get to talk about things I like to talk about. Like how much Marvel sucks now. They're waiting for the next Marvel. How much Star Wars sucks now until Skeleton Crew comes out. And I'm going to get super stoked about Skeleton Crew. So it looks great in the trailer. And lo and behold, they're going to put something in it. It's going to make me pissed off. And I'm going to come on here on a Sunday night at 8:30 and I'm going to complain about Skeleton Crew and how Star Wars is woke. Because that's what I do. No, I'm just playing. No, I'm going to do that, but I'm not playing. I'm going to continue talking about how propaganda is stupid and how to spot it. Either way, I love you guys. Don't get discouraged. No matter what happens this week, keep your head on a swivel. Don't fall for any honey pots. And put your faith in Jesus. Because there ain't nothing else to lean on at this point in time. And either way, God bless.